interrupt me after 7 minutes. Well, you know, I did have a really good speech, and I was really going to praise my colleagues across the row here about working with our party and bringing Bill C-23 to reality, Mr. Speaker. And I've listened attentively yesterday and today at some of the arguments coming from the NDP side in regards to this. A lot of fear there, and I don't understand why. I really have a difficulty understanding why. But, you know, Bill C-23 is an act respecting the preclearance of persons and goods into Canada and the United States. And, you know, we've been doing that on and off since about 1952. And our first free trade agreement came into force in 1989. And, you know, our countries have been working very well over the last number of years to protect the world's longest undefended border of 8,900 kilometers, and that has resulted in the bilateral trade and investment relationship, one of the best in the world, Mr. Speaker. But Bill C-23 is modernizing the way our customs officials on the Canada side and the United States, and working together vice versa, the U.S. customs people in Canada and our people in the United States. We're modernizing it, and we need to modernize it. As my friend said earlier, just across, that times are changing. I remember when I went to the United States and I gave my driver's license and drove across. I came back, no problem. Americans used to come here and drive across the border with a driver's license. But times are changing. It's more difficult. Lots of fear-mongering coming from the far left of myself here. And I want to tell you a quick little story. A friend of mine became a friend of mine after he came into Canada on his motorcycle from the United States. And he had a little mishap up north in northern British Columbia. And we had to send him back by ambulance and airplane to Vancouver to get back to the States. And he had a really hard time getting back in his own country because he came across with a driver's license, and to fly back needed more documentation. So people always run into difficulties, you know, but there's always two sides to every story. And I get alarmed sometimes when people stand up here and say, well, I have a constituent that told me that, and they were held up for 2 hours. Tell us both sides of the story. We haven't heard from the officials what took place. Our minister has said, if you have problems, your constituents have problems, contact me, and we'll investigate it. We'll find out why there was undue delays. But there's always two sides of the story. As a police officer for 35 years, you know, if I was doing a roadblock for impaired drivers and a vehicle came up a couple hundred yards away from me and turned around and drove away, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't send somebody after him to check that vehicle out. Good police officers, good border guards are trained to be suspicious and are trained to pick up key little factors, whether it's a flittering of eyes, whether it's the movement of the body, or whatever. We train our people to watch for this. And if we don't give them the authority to ask questions, then we're not doing due diligence for the safety of the people in this country. And it's only common sense. When people stand up in this house and say, oh, he shouldn't be stopped or she shouldn't be detained, well, you know what? If they walk up to pre-security clearance and they quickly shut around and go away, I'm going to be suspicious. If I was standing in that line, I'd be suspicious. And so should that security guard be in suspicion. If he's Canadian or American, he's protecting the rights of Canadians and Americans traveling back and forth across one of the greatest free borders in the world. And we should be proud of what we do between our cousins in the South and ourselves. We have police officers, and they have been doing this for 50, 60 years, working on both sides of the border, working together to make things safe, working together to use each other's intelligence. But let's not hamper them. Let's give them the authority to do their job properly, to make Canada a safer place, and to make it easier for us to transition from Canada into the United States. This bill makes a lot of common sense. We're going to do it on our turf. The Americans are going to check us out on our turf, we are going to be protected by our Canadian laws on our turf. That only makes common sense. It's a practical, common sense bill, started earlier with our former Prime Minister Harper, carried through with the current Prime Minister. This is what Canadians need. We need to have good pre-clearance and get ourselves across the border as quickly as we can, as safely as we can, but we have to ensure that our officers have the tools to be able to do their job effectively. I think I've run out of time. Have I got a little more? Hey, you're a nice guy. You know, years ago, I used to travel back and forth by aircraft to the United States and back. And it used to take us an hour, hour and a half to get through customs. They have such a thing as CanPass, been out there since about 1989. CanPass is a pre-clearance security. I can go through the United States now with an aircraft in about 5 minutes. That's what pre-security screening does for you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Sorry I couldn't have my full speech. It was a lot better.
Us too.
But